Welcome back to Lucore Automotive. First off, let me be honest, I lied to you. The last video I showed of this 1994 940 turbo Volvo Wagon said I fixed my problem. I did spark plugs and spark plug wires. Now, that did fix the spark plug issue, but it didn't fix my running issue. I've still got a significant miss, and it's due to fueling. So, we needed to do it anyway, so let's do a fuel system service. Fuel filter and fuel injectors. Pretty simple surgery, let's get it done. We've got all four of our brand new injectors. Well, by brand new injectors, I mean remanufactured injectors. These are GB Remanufacturing, courtesy of Rock Auto, because old Volvo, and it's kind of hard to find parts for it. We also do have a Napa Pro Select inline fuel filter, which you're going to replace as well. The fuel that's in this thing is Costco branded, and not to say anything against Costco, but you never know what you're going to get. The amount of people that are getting fuel these days is extreme, so any kind of sediments that are getting in there from pumping fuel, unpumping fuel, pumping fuel, that gets into your fuel system, so you never know what it is contamination-wise that gets an injector misbehaving. So, whenever you're going to do injectors, make sure you do your fuel filter as well. I'm going to go to lunch while this is done, and Derek, whom you guys have seen in a couple of other videos, is going to be doing the surgery here. Pretty minor surgery, not a real big deal, maybe hour and a half,
if that.
Something like that. It's pretty simple. We'll walk you through the whole process as far as what you've got to disconnect and all that fun stuff. Very much something you can do at home. Only part that's slightly tricky is going to be getting that fuel filter done. But as far as the injectors go, up under the hood, pretty easy process. So we're going to get started, and you guys come along for the ride. Fuel injectors and fuel filter, 940, 94 turbo wagon.
Alright, well, we got our new injectors installed. Pretty easy. 3 bolts and some clips and some electronic wires, and that's it. Came in and out really well. So now that we've got the injectors done, move on to the filter. Alright, we're underneath the car now, under the driver's door, and we've got a bracket to take off, and then we'll have access to our fuel filter. Alright, to do this part we're going to need an 18mm socket on either end to undo the fuel lines, and then on top here there's a band clamp, and that's going to be a 10mm. So you're going to have two different size bolts when you take this apart. You want to make sure that you keep track of which one's which, and your smaller one is going to go in the rear and your larger one goes in the front. Alright, well, we've got the new injectors in, we've got the new fuel filter in, so we should be go to key on the car, let the fuel system recharge, and fire it up.
Well, there we go. Pretty simple surgery. In and out in about an hour or so. Definitely something you can do at home. Not anything complicated. There's nothing you got to worry about as far as specialty tools or anything. Pretty simple stuff. Now, one thing I did run into is one of my injectors is slightly different color of green than the others, which is, you know, frustrating for those of us who are into making sure everything is all matchy-matchy. But as Derek was talking about, there's these little retaining clips that are on here. Those you can just pull off with a screwdriver, no big deal. These just come out and slide right off. That's your wiring harness for the injector itself. And then you've got O-rings that sit down in the intake manifold there that you just got to make sure that's all sealed up. Now, because you are working with fuel, you do need to double check yourself and maybe triple check yourself when you fire this thing up that you're not leaking fuel. Otherwise, you are leaking fuel right on a very hot engine, and bad things happen when you leak fuel on an engine. You don't want an engine fire, you don't want to burn the car down. Volvos are great vehicles and they're sturdy. They can light on fire. So just be careful with the O-rings. Make sure you don't cut them when you're putting the injectors in. Make sure everything is nice and seated. Make sure you're not leaking anything. As far as disassembly goes, you've got a couple of quick little bolts that come off. One thing to make sure of is this front bolt. There's a washer that sits up underneath this that's a spacer. Make sure you don't drop that, because otherwise it drops in that way and you may or may not ever find it again. But otherwise, pretty simple, straightforward process. So hopefully you have all enjoyed this process for me. I enjoyed it because I didn't have to do it. Thank you, Derek, for getting this done for me. And there will be more of the 940 Volvo saga to come. I believe next up is going to be brakes, because this thing badly needs some brakes, especially after the 2500 road trip. And then we're going to get into the suspension side of things. So if you're into Volvos or just like watching people work on old stuff, make sure you stay tuned. Click on that subscribe button. Please drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about the old Volvo Battle Wagon. And if you like it, click on the like button. We'll see you next time.